So Trump was shot at again. Surprise, surprise, with the violence here. This was actually streamed just a bit ago, but I'm going to watch it for the first time.
Sorry to hold you all up. We're waiting for the representative from the Secret Service and the FBI.
Hey, Sergeant Cheese, Hands, Dragon Dog. Usernames are awesome. So this guy's Florida law enforcement. Trump is okay. Suspect is in custody. There's reports that shots were fired in the vicinity.
Right now?
Yes.
But
on law enforcement, Secret Service agents to step up. Of course, we are streaming this live, raw, and unfiltered of this moment. The FBI says they are investigating what is an assassination attempt against Trump. The second conversation, I know you're still tuning in. We'll take you on to this press conference as soon as it happens. But now we hear the FBI.
Yeah, so updates so far. Trump was golfing at his golf course in Florida. There was a guy in the bushes. Secret Service was one hole ahead of Trump, kind of scouting in front of him. They saw this guy with the barrel sticking out about 400 yards from Trump. The guy ran off and they apprehended him later in his car. They got a description by a civilian of, I think it was a black Nissan Maxima. So he's in custody. Trump is okay. But we're going to get more details from this news conference right here. So we're waiting on that. Team for Wood, they better get as much security as possible in November, since it seems like it happens every 2 months now. For real.
The FBI would be involved anyway.
I got you. All right, let's stay with us, Ken.
Apparently this was an AK-47, not unsimilar to Butler, Pennsylvania, mid-range rifle. Can shoot up to about 400 yards.
Assassination attempt against Trump in Florida on this Sunday.
All right, looks like this is starting here. So this is Florida State Police talking about this, I believe. Again, suspect is in custody. No clear motive as of yet. We know is a male. No definite description of him yet.
Well, he was taken into custody thereafter.
Can't believe it. You know, when you spend almost a decade calling someone a dictator, a fascist, Hitler reincarnate, this is bound to happen, right? This is open season for these vigilantes on Trump. It's ridiculous.
In a matter of moments, the FBI investigating assassination attempt against Trump. I do want to give you a rundown of some of what transpired since 2 p.m. this afternoon in West Palm Beach, Florida, after shots were fired at this golf club there. Trump was reported safe after gunshots in his vicinity. This, according to the campaign. No injuries were reported. The shots were fired at Trump's West Palm Beach, Florida golf club. We did hear from the White House as Biden and VP Harris were both briefed, and they said they were, quote, relieved Trump is safe. A Secret Service agent reportedly opened fire at a suspected person with weapons while Trump was golfing. An AK-style firearm was recovered near the course where the shots were fired. The course was partially shut down for Trump as he played. As per likely common protocol, agents were a few holes ahead when they noticed a person with a firearm. Agents fired when the person appeared to push the rifle muzzle through the fence line. The suspect, believed to be connected to a shooting, was taken into custody after they shut down I-95. The FBI now investigating this as an attempted assassination against the former president. And this comes just over 2 months since what transpired in Butler, Pennsylvania, the attempted assassination at a rally in that campaign.
I always think of the Pope. He's like transported around in this glass box, bulletproof glass box. I mean, is that what we're going to have to do with Trump? I don't know.
Palm Beach County Sheriff, hopefully, and also representatives of the Secret Service. Let's listen into this here on Live Now from Fox, as they will hopefully step to the podium soon.
Hopefully they'll talk soon. They said they recovered some ceramic tiles in their 2 backpacks, so that would be bulletproof plates you put into a bulletproof vest. So this guy came prepared. He had an AK-47, bulletproof tiles, he had a camera. He was ready to go to war. I like that they're doing a press conference like right away instead of the whole Butler, Pennsylvania fiasco. It was, I don't know why I said it like that. I mean, it was what, weeks after that we actually started getting some, debriefings.
Some time. So Ken Gray, if you're still with me, we're going to continue just our conversation a little bit, monitoring this, and we might just as we start, as I ask a new question, that's usually the timing of it as they will step up to the podium. So we'll get to them briefly, but we're going to continue our conversation just about this assassination.
It's interesting that Trump's security detail is very much downgraded, even though he got shot in the face, right? He was golfing at, his golf course, very public place. Secret Service was only going 1 hole at golf course, the entire area, as they would do for President Biden or even VP Kamala Harris. So just not as much security.
Become the lead federal agency, despite that the Secret Service is responsible for protection of the president, investigations for attempts or actual assassinations fall under the FBI. But right now you are looking at a press conference where they are waiting for the responsible part, all the different agencies that have a piece of this to be present there. They all will want to be part of the.
Yeah, I can see why Trump is not doing any more debates. And in my opinion, he won that debate against Kamala. It was 3 people versus Trump, right? It was Kamala and the 2 moderators who were incredibly biased.
Information that you have details of that you cannot share or that you're not in the position to share at that point. And so that's why we're seeing a delay right now, is just simply getting the people there and making sure that they have the facts that they can share at that moment.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And I believe I asked you if we thought it would be Palm Beach, the sheriff, or Secret Service, and what they might be. And of course, we didn't know at that point, but it appears that Secret Service would be on hand from this. And maybe how much of an information can we gather from the fact that they are likely going to speak, and how much information can the Secret Service give? Because like you mentioned, they are in terms of protecting the individual, the FBI in terms of the investigation. What kind of details does it tell you that the Secret Service might provide an update?
Let me remind you that their title is Secret Service, and consequently, they're not going to give you a lot of details about what they do to protect the president, or what they do where there might have been an incident against the president, and that there was a gap in coverage or a possible problem there with it. They just don't give that information because.
You can disagree with someone and their political beliefs. No excuse to ever shoot said person. Okay, looks like we're going to start here soon.
They say that's why they put the I in the FBI, is to do investigation. Yeah. And so you will be seeing the results of or hear about what the FBI is finding in their initial investigation.
All right, looks like we're starting.
Shut up while they talk.
All right, well, let's get out there to this, Ken. Thanks so much. Let's listen in to what they have to say here as they're investigating this assassination attempt. Let's listen in.
We have everything. All right, so when we get done, think about your questions, because we're not going to take a lot. And keep them to the information that you heard. Don't get into what ifs, and because of this, we're not going to go there, all right? So keep that in mind. All right, 1:30 this afternoon. Call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area. Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great. So we had that information. Our real-time crime center put it out to the license plate readers. And we were able to get a hit on that vehicle on I-95 as it was headed into Martin County. We got a hold of Martin County Sheriff's Office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy. After that, we took the victim, the witness that witnessed the incident, flew him up there, and he identified as the person that he saw running out of the bushes and jumped into the car. Now, in the bushes where this guy was is a AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of. So those are being processed right now. The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off. So that's what we know about the investigation. We have somebody in custody right now that is a potential suspect. We got a little bit more work to do on it, but as we usually do, as soon as we decide that we're going to book him into the county jail and the charges that he's going to be booked into, we'll get those to you and we'll get a picture of him and we'll get you his background. So now I'm going to turn it over to the representative of the Secret Service, and he's going to make a brief statement.
All of our law enforcement partners, to include the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office and the Martin County Sheriff's Office, for their involvement today. Former President Donald Trump is safe and unharmed following a protective incident shortly before 2 p.m. on Sunday at Trump International Golf Club at West Palm Beach. The U.S. Secret located near the property line, and this matter is under investigation. I'll turn it over to my partners over at the FBI.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Veltri. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI's Miami field office. The FBI has assumed the role as the lead federal law enforcement agency in the investigation of the incident that occurred earlier today at Trump International Golf Course here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We've deployed a number of resources, including investigative teams, crisis response team members, bomb technicians, and evidence response team members as well. What we need right now is for the public to avoid the area around the golf course. We will continue to support this investigation with the full resources of the FBI, alongside our partners with the United States Secret Service and the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, as well as Martin County Sheriff's Office and state and local law enforcement. I would ask that if anyone has any information that may assist with this investigation, to contact our tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI or at tips, that's TIPS, .FBI.gov. Thank you.
David?
Hi, I'm Dave Ehrenberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County. I want to thank Sheriff Bradshaw and our partners at the local, state, and federal levels. I'm here because our prosecutors are currently working up warrants and a motion for pretrial detention for the suspect. In that way, he will be kept in custody. But our filing of these warrants and charges at the state level does not preclude federal charges that could be coming. But in the meantime, it looks like the warrants and the pretrial detention motion will happen first. We've had with our federal partners and at the local level. And thank you all for being here today.
Okay, we're going to make these pictures available to you. It'll show you a picture of the backpack and the rifle. And there's also a GoPro on the fence there where he was intent on filming what was going on. Even though we're going to have to secure a couple of areas around the golf course here, the public doesn't need to panic. We know that we got a post office, a library, and a school down the street. So we'll make it convenient for you to get to all the places you need to go, get your kids to school, get them over here to the post office or wherever else you need to go. It's safe. There's no more danger here, and we'll make it very convenient for you. So having said that, we're going to take a very limited amount of questions, and you can direct them to who you want to answer the question.
Sheriff, did this individual make any statements as he was being detained?
No statement right now as far as his involvement in the incident, and there's further investigation to be completed.
What was his demeanor like?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Secret Service gentleman answered. I misunderstood, or I couldn't quite understand. So there was a rifle. So one of your agents saw on the golf course saw a rifle pointing to a fence with a chain link. Okay, so he saw that, the agent.
That is correct, yes.
And the president or the former president was on the course behind him. How close?
It was 1 or 2 holes behind.
100%.
That because the bubble moves through the golf course, so our agents will get there first, clear it. He noticed that the rifle was pointed out. Our agents engaged. We are not sure right now if the individual was able to take a shot at our agents, but for sure our agents were able to engage with the subject. I don't know that.
Doesn't appear so.
Is there more?
Yep. Al?
How far away was the president? How far away was Donald Trump when this gentleman was caught and stopped?
I got it. Probably between 300 and 500 yards, but with a rifle and a scope like that, that's not a long distance.
Your agent from the would-be assailant.
That I'm not sure right now. We're still looking into that.
Reports of the 4 rounds of ammunition were fired. Were all 4 of those from your agent?
That is correct. 4 to 6. We're not sure yet.
Was there a long distance? Explaining why.
Yes, ma'am.
WPF 25. I was wondering what how this was able to happen, and for future reference, is there any security in the golf course?
I didn't hear all that. Say that one more time and talk up a little bit.
So how was this able to happen, and for future reference, is there any security in the golf course?
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery. So when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right. And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the city president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done. They provided exactly what the protection should have been, and their agent did a fantastic job.
Which direction was the shrubbery where he was? North, south? I guess east, west, or south is the road?
The layout of the golf course, you've got 3 holes, 5, 6, and 7. All right? One of them runs parallel to Summit Boulevard. One of them runs parallel to Congress. And he was in an area in the shrubbery where he could see both holes. So the president was another hole back, which means he's about between 400 and 500 yards away.
So he was on the golf course?
Oh, he's on the golf course, yeah, but he's back a ways.
For the Secret Service, have you guys changed at all the way that you guys are protecting former President Donald Trump? This is now potential second attempt on him. Can you just elaborate on how things have changed and what you make of all this?
Yes, the threat level is high. We have increased the amount of assets that we've supported, so we live in danger times. So yes.
We're done with questions right now. There's really nothing more for us to add. I just want to tell you, the Secret Service and the FBI and the State Attorney's Office have been fantastic to work with. And I can tell you right now, our agency with this real-time crime center was fabulous. That's how we got the guy. We started out with, we don't know anything, to where we had a tag, we had a vehicle description, and we got an area where we saw the person. All right, thanks, folks. We'll get back to you.
Where on 95 was it that...
Yeah, that was like 2 or 3 minutes. Jeez.
All right, you're just listening in there
Wow.
to local law enforcement and Secret Service and other people on hand for this breaking news event, as the FBI is now investigating what they're calling an assassination attempt against the former president Donald Trump at this golf course. They're detailing some of what was going on as the bubble around the former president on this golf course. A Secret Service member ahead of this group saw what they believed to be a muzzle sticking through a fence line on the exterior portion of the golf course. They confronted the individual and shots were fired. Of course, we're also seeing this picture as it is going to be out there quite a bit. A rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks, a GoPro as well. So this is the image.
Looks like a 30-round mag.
At this press conference of this assassination attempt. They did pursue the individual. They believe that is connected to this on I-95. They do have him in custody. They said there was no statement yet from the suspect. All right, let's continue here on Live Now from Fox. Bring into the conversation national.
How do people keep getting his position? That's what I want to know.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. I know you were just listening into that press conference. They gave some details about the suspect, what the suspect had, the pursuit, and also the threat level. They called it high. What do we make of it? What are the main focal points you saw from that press conference?
Andy, what I saw was the secret. Of course, as you mentioned, the bubble around the former president. In this case, it pushes out maybe 400 or 500 yards. They don't close down the entire golf course, but they push it out to the hole ahead of him. And the Secret Service detected the AK-47, the muzzle pointed through the fence line. What we do know is that the Secret Service took the shooter under fire. What's not clear is if the shooter ever actually fired. It's possible. They said there's going to be more information on that, and I'm sure they have to do some ballistics, look at the weapon to find out if it was fired. But they did take him under fire. He immediately egressed out of the area, got out of there, jumped into his pickup truck, is what it looks like, and his Nissan pickup truck. And it was very fortuitous that there was a witness there that had the presence of mind to take a picture. So you had a picture of the truck, and they had the license plate. And he took off, but because that area around West Palm Beach has what's called ALPERS, the automated license plate reading system. And this is very common around many urban areas, that they have this primarily for auto theft, but they also deal with other types of crimes. But they have this, so it immediately picked it up when he went on the I-95, and they were able to give the next county over the information of what the truck looked like. They were able to send the picture of the whole bit, and they were able to make a traffic stop. And very fortunately, there was...
You can see here, I mean, he's got like a perch set up. He's got his ceramic plates hung in front of him. This took some pre-planning, right? This wasn't just a crime of opportunity. That's what the left likes to say, especially about Butler, Pennsylvania with Crooks. Oh, he's just opportunistic. No. They are getting Trump's locations. They are getting these spots to set up in. It's almost too perfect. They get within a few hundred yards of Trump, and you think it's coincidence? Nah.
Conclusion, but it's possible that when they took him into custody, he may have said something too, which kind of removed all doubt.
Yeah.
It's interesting how fast they moved on this, but clearly we've gone from a situation where initially there were reports of shots in the vicinity of President Trump. Honestly, shots being fired in southern Florida, not an exceptional sort of thing that happens. All right, so you can't say that was an assassination attempt. But now it's really...
Okay, so the left did this too. They said that Trump tripped and he fell, or he got injured at his rally in Butler. They didn't tell the whole truth, which is, he got shot at. Sounds very similar here. The left was reporting that shots were fired in the vicinity. No reports if it was directly involved with Trump until we get to this, where most obviously he was setting up. He was getting ready for an assassination attempt. 150%. Composite, stock.
Compensate for the accuracy of the weapon with a lot of firepower, a lot of rounds going downrange. 7.62 caliber.
Same as AR-15.
So it's a heavier round than say your 5.56, like you'd see with an AR-15.
So that's an AR-10.
And that may be a decision based on the Secret Service protection and everything else, that he wanted a round with more stopping capability, more penetration capability. So he was looking at the volume of fire that would be fired.
Well, I think I have a
and also I wouldn't be
7.62. Let me look.
surprised if those backpacks.
I'm in basketball shorts, so don't judge me, people.
Extra magazines, and he was planning on engaging them for quite some time. The GoPro, specifically the one I think of in New Zealand at Christchurch, at the mosque where the shooter actually did a terrorist attack on the mosque, and he live streamed with a GoPro the entire event. Clearly, based on what we're seeing here, if he had a GoPro there, the thing they're going to look at is, was he planning on live streaming this assassination attempt? And based on what I'm seeing, it's probably a safe inference that was his intent.
Yeah, a very scary, terrifying moment, just as we're getting more details about it, because like you mentioned, the initial report coming in from the Trump campaign that there were gunshots in the vicinity of the former.
So this is a 5.56. This was from the AR-15, same caliber as the one Crooks shot. And this is the 7.62. If you can see the difference here in just the amount of gunpowder here. You know what I mean? The brass casing is also thinner, so you can put more gunpowder in this, so it's more powerful.
You know, you've sighted it in, you've got your, as we say, dope on the weapon, and you've done some other things, you know, where you really, you know, you got the correct range, you've compensated for the wind, stuff like that. Yes, you could possibly hit out to 500 yards. I don't know that you'd hit a bullseye out of 500 yards or something like that, but you could put rounds in the definitely in the vicinity of the president and everyone around him. And the thing with the
Greg, from what I know, they saw the barrel sticking out, and they actually squoze off some shots on him preemptively before he's able to fire. But they're still going to release that information later, I would hope.
It's just too tough to control the weapon. Semi-automatic, though, he could put a significant volume of fire into the area of where the president would be, and that may have been his goal. And of course, with the AK-47, as I mentioned earlier, that's a little bit bigger round. That's a 7.62 millimeter round. That's bigger than what you see with the AR-15,
yep,
which is normally a 5.56 millimeter round. There's a little bit different philosophy in terms of the U.S. versus the. This was essentially a Russian weapon. Initially, I don't know where this one was made, but it originally came from Russia. The thought was that they wanted a heavier round with more stopping power. That's also a consideration, though, when you're looking at a president who's surrounded by Secret Service agents wearing body armor, and that may have been what he was thinking, which is he wanted a heavier round, more. You know, that he was going to compensate for the fact that you got to.
It is strange that they're using high capacity mid-range rifles to compensate for scud, but a bolt action rifle gets some precision on there. I don't know. They're using these mid-range rifles, and they're just hoping to squeeze off as many shots as possible.
You know, anti-government, and they're and they decry communism at every other turn, and then they say, and they love the AK-47. I go, well, if you ever looked at where the weapon actually came from, but you will hear that kind of.
Danziger says, report shooter did anti-Israel rants online and had prior weapon charges. Yeah, that's shocking, right?
We're getting new information. I want to put up this here on social media. This a post on X from John Schneider. He is a Florida state rep. He's the son of the Martin County sheriff, saying the suspect in custody related to Trump in his mid-60s. So we're getting these new incidents, and it's an interesting contrast to what we learned with Thomas Matthew Crooks, kind of the opposite end, a younger individual. What do we make of this these interviews? Because you imagine they're trying to learn a little bit about him, about a possible motive, potentially anyone around him that might have known about this. What do we make of this latest detail, Hal?
One thing that jumps out at that, interesting, white male. Okay, I don't want to, speculation at this point what his motivations are. But one of course, one of the things would be, is it an ISIS-inspired thing? Is it something maybe tied to the Iranian plots? A white male in his mid-60s would be a less likely suspect. I wouldn't rule it out, but it'd be a less likely suspect with those particular motivations. So it's going to be kind of interesting to figure out what exactly is this person's motivation. And we have seen assassination attempts from the far left and the far right. I would remind you that there was an attack. In fact, Representative Scalise was seriously injured, almost killed, or seriously wounded, almost killed in that attack.
Yeah, Bryce, if this was a blackmail, we wouldn't know their race until 2 months later, you know?
Congressional baseball game, that he was a far left far left assassin. And then, of course, we've seen far right assassins as well. So it could be anywhere on that spectrum. I can't tell you at this point. It would seem less likely, though, not impossible, but less likely that this person is tied to an Iranian plot. And of course, I say that because that is as an active plot to try and assassinate senior members.
And they'd been advised about this. They've been warned about this, Secret Service, of this active plot.
And so it would seem less likely. So that's all.
Who is grooming? No, who's what's the organization
of this individual? They didn't really detail that suspect, but that was coming in on social media from a Florida state rep talking about the son of a Martin County sheriff, talking about a white male in his 60s. As we also heard from that press conference talking about the threat level at a high, and you mentioned just some of those international threats and threats from different countries overseas. Let's talk about this because we're also seeing this post from J.D. Vance talking about
independent investigations outside of the FBI.
He spoke with him before the news was public. He was amazing, in good spirits. Still don't know, saying a prayer of gratitude. This also coming in as Trump tells Brett Baier, I tell everybody I am fine. The Secret Service did a great job. He said he was playing golf on the course in West Palm on the 5th hole when shots rang out. He was put into the golf court and quickly driven back to the clubhouse.
Shots were fired.
Still very limited details were coming in. But let's talk about the high nature, the threat level that is on high. And this comes more than 2 months after what happened in Butler,
full security detail.
Can they get even higher?
He has been shot at and literally shot the first time.
Security be around Trump and all of the candidates going into November?
Andy, that's a fascinating question. And I really kind of go back to what the sheriff was saying in the press conference. He says, well, he's not the president of the United States, so we don't shut down the entire course. That may change a bit, I would say, with this particular assassination.
Yeah, Chris,
attempt.
You cannot trust the three letters, FBI, CIA, NSA.
In terms of how far they
they're all in the government pocket.
As they say. You may see
this election season's been knucking futz.
The Secret Service on a more frequent basis, from other parts of DHS, like Homeland Security investigations and certainly other 1811 special agents being brought into some of these protective details as well. One thing was interesting, you may recall from Butler, there was between the federal and the local level. That is not what I heard in this press conference. What I heard in this press conference, and probably that's because, look, that's where the president lives. This is where the president, so they would have all those communications paths have established, firmed up. This is not something where he's going off to a rally someplace. This is something that this routine that they would have this, they'd be monitoring everybody else's communications paths.
Yeah, so you have Trump out here taking shots, putting his life on the line, and Biden, who's not even fit for re-election, is still in office, actively in power as the president of the United States. Please try to make it make sense.
Trump, but also with Vice President Harris, in fact, and the vice presidential candidates, that they may be doing less of certain things. So you may not see him playing golf, for example, as often. And certainly at all across the board, there'll be greater screening of anybody in the vicinity. And you may see some other things that we probably shouldn't talk about that'll be around the protectee that they will use to as defensive measures to better insulate the protectee from possible fire, things like that. It's interesting, though. They said he jumped in a golf cart and took off towards the clubhouse. I'm a little curious to hear more about that. I would have expected that.
So I remember there was a show where they went to George Bush's ranch, and he was able to drive his King Ranch F-150 truck, and he said that's the only time he gets to drive is on this like dirt road to his ranch for like a mile, and the rest of the time he's got a driver. I mean, even former presidents, years removed, they have a high security detail. So that's something to think about. I mean, if you are in politics, if you get elected to any kind of position, that's a lifetime thing. You're going to be restricted. Can't go get an ice cream cone. You can't do this or that without Secret Service up and down your butt crack.
But they may not be happy, but this is one of those exceptional situations. So I expect there'll be more information on that in terms of when he actually was put into an armored vehicle to provide him greater.
Contrast what happened 2 months in Butler, in a significant portion what we happened today in Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach. Also about how he was led out of that rally in Butler, but we're going to get to that in a little bit, because I do want to talk to you about the bubble at this golf course, because there is maybe some credibility from the Secret Service. They said they did exactly what they should have done, and you talked about in terms of the bubble, maybe it should have been larger, maybe it will be larger. Are we surprised that it wasn't larger even at this point?
Can we get out past 400 yards where any mid-range rifle by any idiot could get a shot with a 30-round mag?
A Secret Service member going a hole ahead. The whole golf course wasn't surrounded by Secret Service. Are we surprised that that wasn't in place already?
Well, obviously the Secret Service detected the threat early on, took him under fire, maybe before he even had a chance to fire the weapon. So in that regard, it was a success. One of the things they're probably going to be looking at is the bubble itself. The bubble was well, obviously, from what we can tell, was primarily within the golf course, within the fence line, if you will. What this individual did, from what we know, and I just have to take from what limited information we have, is that they had gone into the hedges, into the brush line, if you will, and had gone up to the fence, set up a shooter's nest, if you will, at the fence line with camouflaged by the hedgerow around the golf course. And I'm sure one of the discussions is going to be, should they put more people outside the fence line, possibly on the street, possibly even blocking off lanes of traffic. If you look at the White House, and it's interesting, I've been around long enough. I used to be stationed in the Washington, D.C. area. It used to be that you could literally drive by the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue. That has been pushed back more and more. The fence line.
You used to be able to, literally walk up to the fence line of the White House. They're like closing off the street before it.
Like you used to be able to, because they've had incidents. And they keep pushing back the perimeter further and further. So it makes it more difficult to actually get any way proximate to the White House. I would imagine you're going to see some of that philosophy being used in terms of pushing that bubble out more to give them more observation, more surveillance, if you will, of what's going on around the bubble, and to give them early warning if there's anything suspicious around the bubble as well. And whereas this was obviously a successful intervention, a successful protection action.
We just have to put Trump in a full suit of body armor,
One of the things they may be looking at, it certainly came up after Butler, was a discussion of the Secret Service using drones.
Yeah.
And I look at this and I go, this is a perfect opportunity where the Secret Service could have employed drones.
What I don't understand is if they could carry a thermal camera and have some thermal imaging, that would be really helpful.
It sounds like the agents actually came across this individual when they saw the muzzle pointed to the fence line. That would indicate to me that it probably wasn't a drone early warning. I may be proven wrong if more information comes out, but I would say they're going to go back and say, hey, look, we got to employ drones.
This dude, okay, here's the big question that I'm answering. This dude had enough time to set up a sniper's nest, hang up his plates, get into position. How did he know Trump would be there? How did he get that information? That's what I really want to know. Just some 6-year-old white guy that just happens to know that Trump's going to be golfing at that exact time and be within 400 yards of him. Smells fishy.
Done a few things to provide a little additional intelligence, early warning, if you will, and then of course pushing the perimeter out from a physical protection standpoint.
Yeah, the home turf factor and the fact that they didn't have a drone there, very, very interesting.
I don't know if he got lucky, because the left was saying that the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting with crooks was a crime of opportunity, when the right-wing media was saying it was carefully planned. No, in my gut, I feel like he had more information than they're letting on.
The first report of shots fired around 1:30 Eastern. The units, they sealed off the area. Suspect jumped out of the bushes and into a black Nissan. Witnesses reported a car and license plate to police. That led to them tracking him down very, very quickly. Authorities pulled over the suspect on I-95, took them into custody. Witnesses later identified the suspect. The weapon that was used, a scope with also 2 backpacks and a GoPro recovered. Trump was safe, although he was 300 to 500 yards away from the shooter. In my mind, come back to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Are there any other contrasts that stick out to you? Maybe similarities and contrasts that stick out between what happened in Butler and what happened today?
Well, the range obviously jumps out right away, because the range is similar.
Very similar.
When you look at that, that's similar to the same range. It's not, I shouldn't say it's identical, but it's within the area of range that you would expect. And whereas it was a much shorter range, I would say, generally speaking, in Butler, that kind of jumped out at me. The fact that they were both that they were assault rifles, that jumps out at me as well. It could be that the choice of weapon was actually based on what the shooter saw. This shooter saw happen over in Butler. He may have decided to go with a heavier round. As I mentioned, assuming this is a 7.62 AK-47, all we know right now is it's a AK style, and so I've seen some variations with AK style weapons as well. So I'm just having to kind of infer what's probable with this.
So with an AK-47 or an AR-15, they do fire different calibers depending on how you have them chambered. But the AR-15 at 400 yards, that's a pretty good effective range. And that's the expectation for a shooter to hit a human-sized target at least 50% of the time. So 400 yards, easily doable, especially if you have magnification. Now, the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania did not. He had a red dot sight, a little bit harder, but what you're really getting with an AR rifle is the high capacity magazine. You can have 30 shots. It's semi-automatic, so you can just squeeze off as many shots as you can, trying to hit the target, because I believe there were 8 shots from crooks at that first assassination attempt. So
Normal golf course, particularly one in Southern Florida, somewhat different than what you might run into, say, in Palm Springs or
could have been a
or
Ruger,
Phoenix or something like that. That the tree line would, if there were rounds fired, would have implicitly acted to shield, to provide some cover at that distance. Probably a number of the rounds would have impacted within the tree line. So because of the tree line, because of the design of the golf course, again, that's an inference. I don't have a schematic in front of me to say exactly where he was, but 300 to 500 yards, one hole ahead, that's pretty safe to say that's likely that he did not have line of sight. And so when he came under fire, regardless of the motivation, it may have been that that's why he left the weapon and stuff. It's like he never really had a chance to actually engage in any way.
We did a shooting recreation of the Butler assassination attempt with an AR-10 and an AR-15. The AR-10 had the 7.26, and then the AR-15 had the 5.56, and the AR-10 was hell of a lot more accurate.
Depending on where he was in relation to where the president was playing. So there's a lot of things there that could have really mitigated the threat to the president when they were looking at the bubble.
Yeah. No, and there
was it the Patriot Act, right, where they could listen in on your phone calls. So I don't want more government listening, right? I don't want more cameras and more microphones everywhere. I think that the people who need to be protected should have a bigger detail, but everyday Americans, I don't want more intrusion and loss of privacy.
Mindful with the scope, but also Lucas Tomlinson posted this on social media saying potential assassin had protective ceramic plates in his backpack as well. This according to officials, and yeah, I believe you might be able to see them in this picture on this fence line just outside of the golf course. What are those? How what kind of maybe benefit to that individual do they have? What are they? What are they used for?
That's armor.
Yeah.
Basically what you're seeing there is a bunker with them, if you will.
And there's different levels of ceramic plates. Some are military grade, some are not.
Is what they're talking about. If you see the weapon,
yeah, these are the plates
weapon,
hanging here.
And I'm guessing that he may have actually dropped it just like that. He was pointing through, but if you look at the weapon where it's pointed through the fence line, you see the ceramic plates hanging. That provides him, it blocks his visibility a little bit, but I'm pretty sure he knew exactly where he was going to engage the former president. But what that does is when he would be taking rounds coming in at him,
yeah, it might be an SKS.
The ceramic plates would provide him a certain amount of armor protection, if you will, around where he is. And so that's what the ceramic plates. Ceramic plates tend to be a little heavier than some of the body armor worn. I have worn body armor that actually had plates actually in the body armor itself. And you can't move around very, very well with that. But that actually was mobile armor that he hung up there. Now, with that, my guess is, and I may be wrong on this, but my guess is that he probably had some spare magazines in there as well. And so it was just basically once he took the former president under fire, he probably was planning on staying there, that he was planning to stay there and continue firing until he couldn't fire anymore, which means it could have been, and look, if you're going to do something like that, you probably have in the back of your mind,
yeah, Bryce, there's always that question, right? Is there an inside job? Because, I mean, this is twice now. How are they getting within hundreds of yards, less than 400 yards of Trump?
Ceramic armor to buy him a little more time, because he knows that once he starts firing, Secret Service and everybody else is going to be all over his position. So that would make sense. Rather interesting, though. I have not seen that in a lot of other assassination situations. There's a certain amount of planning and thinking that goes into that. That's indicative. We don't know a whole lot to show a degree of planning to this, which is rather interesting. And I would also think it limits his field of view. His field of observation is limited by which on out there and looked at that particular once, twice, or more, and had figured that was maybe an optimal place.
So he'd scouted the location, right?
The former president under fire. We're going to find these things out. That's pure speculation. But based on some of the things he did with setting up a GoPro and some other things.
Oh, okay. So this is the GoPro right here. He wanted to film it.
That went into this in his thinking, because he's planning on filming it. Obviously, with a GoPro, he's got the backpacks, the plates hanging there. That tells me he's got a field of view very much in mind. That he's probably, it's not something where he just kind of walked up to the fence and probably just set this stuff up. It was something where he probably had.
I remember Bill Clinton came and drove through Utah, the state I'm living in, and the entire highway was shut down. And he was the active president, right? But it was this motorcade, this huge deal. Everybody was like, we got to stay back. We got to stay away from this procession. Where are those days?
Hunting, sometimes for protection. How common are those ceramic plates?
You can buy ceramic plates.
Well, the ceramic plates, it's a ballistic plate is what it is. And for example, when you see troops, whether Marines, Marines, Army, Navy, whomever, out there in combat in the field, within our body armor, we will have certain areas where but not all of it, in the chest area where the vital organs are, we'll normally drop a ceramic plate in there, and maybe a couple of other areas, and same thing in the back. And basically what it does is it provides you a hardened ballistic protection, much more than the rest of the ballistic protection on the vest itself. in many cases, depending on the type of weapon that's being fired at you, some of it's great for shrapnel. Some of it may be fine for
If you go on Facebook Marketplace today, you can find all kinds of people selling ceramic plates and level 3 body armor.
plate. And rather interesting adaptation here. He's not wearing it on a vest. He's actually hanging it from a fence. My guess is, looking at that, he's probably got, something where he's tied it off.
There's got to be the hand of God in this, right? This is the second time someone's gotten within 400 meters of Trump with a high-capacity mid-range rifle, and Trump has lived to see another day by the grace of God.
Impact as well. But if it's 9mm, which is, kind of standard that you see, certainly something like that, if it's tied off well, would provide him a measure of protection. Now with a 50 caliber counter sniper weapon or something like that, not a whole lot of protection. That's probably going to go right through those plates. But then again, it would take a while to put a 50 caliber counter sniper weapon into action, depending on how the golf course is laid out and where that counter sniper would be. And there's just a lot of questions that go with that.
No, that is good. I just wanted to clarify.
You can break the upper and lower receiver down with, it's a lot more portable than a longer sniper rifle, that's for sure.
As the FBI investigating this assassination attempt, what is the FBI doing now in terms of what this plan was, what this individual might be looking into, both digitally and also talking to people? What's the investigation look like now in terms of that?
My guess is that the FBI has swarmed over everything tied to this individual. Obviously, they're doing a heavy forensic on the crime scene, if you will, where he was set up doing things. They're interviewing anybody in the area that could have seen him. Any types of cameras that were on streets or on buildings or whatever, where they could have caught an image. So they're doing that sort of investigation right off. They're also probably trying to go back, and this will take time.
Okay, we've got some more details on the shooter. His name is Ryan Roth. Let me bring this over if I can here. Ryan Wesley Roth, I'm not sure about that. Criminal history includes possession of stolen goods, having a revoked driving license, resisting an officer, carrying a concealed weapon, and a number of other violations such as hit and run. A suspect is in custody following what the FBI says was a disrupted assassination attempt on Donald Trump at one of the former president's Florida golf resorts on Sunday. A Secret Service agent opened fire on the suspect after spotting a rifle barrel through the perimeter fence of the Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. The suspect fled but is now in custody and has been identified as Ryan Wesley Roth. I don't know. Do you guys know? Trump immediately began fundraising off the latest alleged assassination attempt with an email to supporters reading, "There were gunshots in my vicinity, but before rumors start spiraling out of control, I wanted you to hear this first. I am safe and well. Nothing will slow me down. I will supporting me." Trump sent a second fundraising email recently. "My resolve is only stronger after another attempt on my life. I will never slow down. I will never give up. I will never surrender. I thank God every day for having supporters like you on my side. On November 5th, we will make America great again." Former president has also joked about how he's frustrated his golf game was cut short. Oh man, Trump, you are a G. Representative Ronnie Jackson told the paper he'd spoken to Trump earlier today. He talked to him a little bit, checked in on him, told him he's always glad to hear from me, but he was glad he didn't need my services today. Told him I was glad he was okay. Okay, here is the Nissan. They said it was a truck. That looks like an Xterra to me. A Nissan Xterra is what I'm seeing. Okay. This is kind of the area they have cordoned off. Damn, look at those trees. Those palm trees are massive. I forget this is like a Florida resort here. Oh, Tim Walls chimed in. Gwen and I are glad to hear that Donald Trump is safe. Violence has no place in our country. It's not who we are as a nation. Suck it, Walls. Okay, they've talked to the suspect. No statements yet. No statement right now as far as his involvement in the incident, and there's further investigation to be completed. Of course, they're going to say it's an ongoing investigation for the next 30 years. Okay, ooh, a little bit closer here on the plates and the backpack. Okay, so we see the rifle here. We see how the barrel was sticking out of the chain link here, and these were the bags that were carrying the ceramic plates, kind of setting up his sniper's nest. A witness was able to identify the individual who fled from the bushes outside Trump's course and jumped into a black Nissan. That witness took a picture of the car and their tag, which was great. The police later recovered an AK-47 with a scope, 2 backpacks containing ceramic plates, and a GoPro from the bushes. Yeah, that's friggin' civilian was the homie, right? He took a picture of the car and the license plate. They're able to run it through their system, and basically were able to catch the guy. Oh, Kamala. I have been briefed on reports of gunshots. I gotta do the laugh here. I've been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near former President Trump and his property in Florida, and I'm glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America. Again with that narrative. Oh, Trump hasn't been shot at. He was shot near. It was in the vicinity. We don't want to have another assassination attempt on Donald Trump, because then he becomes the sweetheart of the Republican Party and of Americans nationwide. Let's see. Let's go to this other guy. 1 second here. There is possibly... Let's see what this is all about. This might just be the press briefing we've already watched.
And we had units here that 30 this afternoon. Call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area. Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great. So we had that information. Our real-time crime center put it out to the license plate readers. And we were able to get a hit on that vehicle on I-95 as it was headed into Martin County. We got a hold of Martin County Sheriff's Office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy. After that, we took the the witness that witnessed the incident, flew him up there, and he identified as the person that he saw running out of the bushes and jumped into the guy is an AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of. So those are being processed right now. The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off. So that's what we know about the investigation. We have potential suspect. We got a little bit more work to do on it, but as we usually do, and the charges that he's going to be booked into, we'll get those to you, and we'll get a picture of him, and we'll get you his background. 1:30 this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
While former President Donald Trump enters the final stretch of his second re-election bid,
I remember the circle jerk that the Secret Service was doing, FBI, everybody at the oversight hearing after the first assassination attempt. Oh, I just want to say Secret Service puts their lives on the line and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, look. Someone got killed. Corey Comparator, he was killed. 3 were critically injured. Trump was shot in the ear. Quit congratulating yourselves.
Come from this?
Figures your shit out.
That's a great question, and I think you're absolutely onto something there. Historically, Venezuela has arrested American citizens, of course, claiming the same sort of line of narrative now that these individuals were attempting to undermine the Venezuelan government in some form or fashion.
So, to the Secret Service, they knew immediately because communicating to the very team that's surrounding former President Trump to remove him, that there are shots fired, and this is so there was I take it there was no lack of communication or misunderstanding within the Secret Service circles, and then of course your 911 calls that might have been coming out from surrounding witnesses, whatnot. They don't know what's happening, but Secret Service did, and then there is a protocol in place when they know that this is a direct threat.
Yeah, if that bystander hadn't taken pictures of that Nissan Xterra, this would be a nationwide manhunt by now. And who would suspect this 60-year-old white guy, right? He'd probably be like, he went that way.
Assassination attempt against former President Trump. So that's and in regards to the
I can't believe the news cycle on the first assassination attempt. That thing got buried faster than anything I've ever seen. That Olympic breakdancer, Reagan or something, had a longer news cycle than a former president's attempted assassination and the death of an American. January 6th, a Trump supporter died, and that's all the news media could talk about for months. Even now, they still talk about it. Kamala Harris brought it up in the debate, saying it was the biggest crime against American democracy since the Civil War. American dies, that's a Trump supporter, but they're raiding the Capitol. Oh, yeah, this needs to be in the news every single day for the rest of our lives. Oh, Trump gets shot at and someone dies at a rally. Oh, let's just brush this under the rug. Let's not chat about it anymore. Who cares?
And so thereby it's very important that they don't provide anything that could be of a jeopardy.
Yeah, for anyone that's just joining us, Trump was golfing at his golf course in Florida. There was a shooter in the bushes behind a chain link fence. The Secret Service saw the barrel of his gun sticking out, and they fired at this individual who then ran off. A bystander, an eyewitness, was able to take a picture of his vehicle as he fled, and they were able to pull him over, and he is now in custody. American people are not, because this is the second attempt on former President Trump's life in recent months.
Pro hanging there, all things that are going to be very useful, of course, going forward to try to really hone down what.
I wish it was clickbait, honestly. Luckily, he didn't get a shot off. He fled from the scene. Secret Service actually shot at him before they shot at Trump. Supposedly, shots were fired. And what they're saying so far is Secret Service were the only ones who fired.
Yeah, so let's take out that perhaps. They are absolutely going through his digital media and any device that he may have in his possession. Not only what is possibly in those backpacks. So I did hear a GoPro, some tiles, which is confusing to me, and then of course his weapon. How much ammunition, what phones or anything else that might be in those bags. Of course, what is on his person and in that vehicle, which will be, as I heard, a search warrant. They're going to pull out all the stops on this, and I can get a U.S. attorney who's dedicated to ensuring that letters have to go out. They are being done. And not to mention, as always, where did this individual come from? This person, no. All those things are in play. So you probably will have several different field offices encompassing interviews. So, for example, if this person...
Yeah, let's see what that coverage or what that footage on that GoPro camera is.
The FBI is probably already on the doorsteps, if not inside the house. And then, of course...
They are so reactive to these assassination attempts instead of proactive. These individuals are given so much ample time to set up. Crooks was able to get up on the roof. He was able to fly a drone over the rally. He had a rangefinder. He was spotted like 3 times.
The FBI has to determine those identities and ensure those people, if complicit, are quickly brought into custody. So it's an extensive investigation, and I can tell you no stone is going to be left unturned here.
Let's talk about the charges then, with the FBI having that federal jurisdiction.
Federal charges for shooting at a former president? Durr. That could be a felony.
An attempt assassination, you potentially have
no shit
threats against federal officers. The FBI can look at each and every line of sight as a potential victim.
So we're going to switch over to CBC News at 7 MST. So in about 10 minutes. They have a full coverage there. And then Associated Press also released the full conference, but it was pretty much just brass tacks. Suspect is in custody. He set up a sniper's nest and shots were fired, but nothing that actually hit anybody. Again, Trump is fine. Joking about the situation, saying he's sad that his golf was cut short.
There may be additional charges of whatever is found inside that house.
Yeah, it's interesting for Crooks that there were bystanders screaming, "He's got a gun!" A full, what was it, a minute, maybe 2 before shots were fired out. So that's crazy to me. These bystanders are saving the day, right? And it's only thanks to that police officer that got up on the roof and broke the line of sight for the shooter before he swung back on. That might have saved Trump's life. So, if you see something, say something, especially, if it's something surrounding Trump.
What?
Yeah, so we're now 2 months in a second credible assassination attempt, right? You have where he is shot July 13th, and then additional people dying and being injured. And then you have this incident, which really will shake up not only the Secret Service, but all those involved with regards to securing the safety of not only former President Trump, but those in his family and around him.
Yeah, Trump has 9 lives at this point. So what are we down to? 7? This is ridiculous. Trump's other ear is safe. Yeah. Yep. Left ear is still doing okay.
To commit acts of violence on a political figure will definitely bring into question everything that has been done and is being done in order to not only secure the safety of all our political candidates and our leaders, but also to
So before the Pennsylvania assassination attempt, It'd been what, since 1984, since the Secret Service had to actively protect a president, which was when Reagan got shot. So to me, they've been resting on their laurels. Luckily today, they're able to get the shots off before Trump was actually injured, though.
FBI Special Agent Scott Duffy about this investigation and what is expected to happen going forward. We're taking a live look once again out of West Palm Beach in Florida. This is the Trump International Golf Course, where you can see that it is still a very active.
Trump's got more lives than the cats of Springfield, Ohio. Greg, you know what you're talking about.
Another assassination attempt against the former president. We're still waiting for more details to come down from this situation. In the meantime, we're going to step away for a quick commercial break. Stick with us. We have more top headlines next.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay, so we're going to switch over to CBC here. Anyone still joining us? No, this is not clickbait. Trump was not shot at, but there was an attempted assassination attempt. Secret Service was able to get shots off on the 60-year-old white male, Brian Rao. I'll have to look at his name. Is in custody. Be further investigated. Maybe we'll get a motive. Why generate an AI image for the thumbnail? It's frustratingly bad. Hey man, I had to throw something together in like the few minutes when this news broke, and I wanted to cut me some slack, man. I'll hand draw it next time, Your Highness. Yeah, so this is starting in 5 minutes. We'll see if this assassination attempt has longer legs than the first one, who actually ended up in the assassination and murder of Corey Comparator. I like to always say his name so we don't forget. That although Trump was only hit in the ear, we did lose an American that day, a former firefighter, a loving father, and someone that should not have lost that life because of the incompetence of Secret Service and the violent rhetoric of the left on that day. So hearts out to that family still. I believe they raised like $10 million for him. I have my qualms with GoFundMe. They've canceled some of my campaigns trying to get conservative billboards up. But I know Trump talked to the family, gave them $1 million check, and the wife said, you know, that's great, but I'd rather have my husband back. So again, we're waiting about 3 minutes here till this goes on. See if there's any news, new updates around what we know so far. Right now, it's pretty limited. There has been a press conference and some pictures shared from the scene. The AK-47 used some ceramic plates. It looks like he's setting up a sniper's nest. Let's see if we can look at those pictures. Let's see. I have to put in Trump second assassination attempt. That's ridiculous. Yahoo sucks. Does anyone actually use Yahoo as a search engine? It's garbage. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can drag this over. New York Post. I thought I saw a picture of the guy. Okay. Allegedly, this is Ryan Ruth. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Let's see. Ryan Ruth. The legend. Oh, no, guys. He's got the blue hair. Case closed. He's a liberal, right? Previously convicted in 2002 of possessing a weapon of mass... What? Previously convicted in 2002 of possessing a weapon of mass destruction, according to online North Carolina Department of Adult Correction records. This dude had a weapon of mass destruction, and he's just out menacing the public. What the hell? Ruth was also arrested over 2 decades ago following a 3-hour standoff, according to a news and record story. Routh was pulled over during a traffic stop, put his hand on a firearm, and later drove to a roofing business where he barricaded himself. He was charged with carrying a concealed weapon and possessing a weapon of mass destruction, which was in reference to a fully automatic machine gun. Okay, I was thinking like a small bomb or something, you know, but a fully auto machine gun, unless you have permits for it, yes, it could be considered that. So this guy was a shithead. Okay, DeSantis has responded. Governor of Florida. DeSantis said Sunday evening he would be ordering a Florida investigation into the attempted assassination attempt at Donald Trump's golf course. The people deserve the truth about the would-be assassin and how he's able to get within 500 yards of the former president and current GOP. Assassins have better access to Trump than press to Harris. Oh, Jimmy Filia. I want to live in an America where the press has more access to the Democrat nominee than the assassins do to the Republican nominee. That is wild. Let's look at his other standoff here. So he's been charged with resisting, delaying, and obstructing a law enforcement officer, driving with his license revoked, and possessing a weapon of mass destruction. Ridiculous. All right, let's see. This is going yet. Hopefully we get some new information. If not,
between 300 and
we will
500
look
yards.
through.
But with a rifle and a scope like that, that's...
Some other news sources here. Come on. Come on. Okay, here we go.
Breaking tonight, the FBI is investigating another assassination attempt targeting Donald Trump.
Assassins
a gunman
from
with a
Tamu.
high-powered rifle got very close to the former president.
Probably between 300 and 500 yards. But with a rifle and a scope like that, that's not a long distance.
How agents stopped the shooter and where the investigation goes now. Air Canada strikes a deal with pilots.
So it's a big relief.
Why a
Who
raise for
cares?
pilots likely won't mean a rise in fares.
Right on.
Ian Hennemansing.
A gunman is in custody tonight after what the FBI describes as an attempt on former President Donald Trump's life, the second in just over 2 months. Police are confirming the suspect was armed with an assault rifle and within striking distance of the former president.
Can I just say Indian news channels are awesome, if that's what this is?
Equipped with a scope, the former service agent saw the barrel of the suspect's weapon and opened fire. Katie Simpson now on how a would-be assassin got so close to Trump and how he was caught.
Donald Trump whisked away by motorcade from what could have been a horrific moment in U.S. history, escaping the line of fire of a would-be gunman police say was laying in wait in the shrubs outside his golf course.
Now, in an AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of.
Investigators sharing these photos showing the rifle with the scope, the backpacks, and that GoPro camera. Trump was golfing early Sunday afternoon when a member of his Secret Service detail noticed something suspicious.
They have an agent that jumps 1 hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off.
At least 4 shots were fired by the Secret Service. Amid the commotion, a witness snapped a photo of the suspect fleeing in a getaway vehicle, including the license plate. The vehicle was stopped by highway patrol officers after the tags were fed into the state's license plate reading system. Police say he was arrested without incident. In a fundraising email, Trump said, "I am safe and well. Nothing will slow me down. I will never surrender," calling for unity and peace. Still, it all appears to have been a very close call. Police say the suspect was not very far away from Trump.
Okay, I just want to pause it here to show you guys something. So if you go to look for news about this assassination attempt, right? Let me move this over here. Getting apparent assassination attempt of Trump in Florida. NBC, Trump's FBI investigating apparent assassination attempt. New York Times, Trump safe after what FBI describes as an assassination attempt. Fox News, Donald Trump safe after shots fired outside Palm Beach Golf Club. New York Post, Donald Trump assassination attempt, live updates, reactions, photos, and more. How's the New York Post giving the most accurate description of what's going on and the best updates? That to me is wild. You would think Fox News would not say, shots fired outside Palm Beach Golf Club. You would think they would be like, yo, this was an assassination attempt, and here's the guy that did this. How's the New York Post beating them to that? That's just sad. I'm sorry. That is sad to me. Come on, Fox News. Get your shit together. All right. Back to the National.
Probably between 300 and 500 yards. But with a rifle and a scope like that, that's not a long distance.
Security around Trump has already been ramped up over the past 2 months in the wake of the first assassination attempt, when a gunman fired shots at Trump during a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, grazing his right ear.
What happened?
While more resources are dedicated to keeping Trump safe, he's not getting the highest level of protection.
He's not the city president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
It's what, 2 months ago?
Multiple investigations examining the Secret Service and its ability to protect political leaders, which started after the first assassination attempt. What happened in Florida is only going to intensify those inquiries.
And Katie, we're learning more about the suspect tonight.
Yeah, he's been identified by multiple U.S. news outlets as 58-year-old Ryan Routh from Hawaii. He'd taken an intense interest in the war in Ukraine and had actually been interviewed by the New York Times a couple of years ago about visiting Ukraine, he says, and trying to generate support for the war effort. In terms of a motive in Florida, police have not released any specifics. Ian.
Katie's.
Okay, so they've talked to, or at least the New York Times have actually talked to the attempted assassin here, Mr. Routh, I believe that's his name. He told the New York Times back in 2023, so long ago, for an article about Americans volunteering to aid the war effort in Ukraine. Mr. Routh, who had no military experience, said he had traveled to the country after Russia's invasion in 2022 to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight there. He told the Times he once visited Washington to meet with politicians to strengthen support for Ukraine. I'm just a U.S. citizen that's helping out, he said. What the hell? So this dude was a Ukraine sympathizer to the point where he actually went over there He once visited Washington to meet with politicians. It's on the left. Yeah. Now they're just going to say that there were fireworks outside of the golf course, not gunshots. All right. So Mr. Trump was golfing. Mr. Trump. Oh my gosh. Former President Trump. What is this again? The New York Times. Of course they call him Mr. Trump. Commie bastards. Mr. Trump was golfing with his friend Steve Witkoff, a New York real estate investor, when the shots were fired. According to 3 people briefed on the matter, Trump later returned to Mar-a-Lago, his Palm Beach estate. His campaign sent 2 fundraising emails connected to the episode. There are people in this world who do whatever it takes to stop us, one of them said. Golf courses can pose a security challenge for protecting the former president. Though they offer few places to hide, they also feature very true. During the news briefing, Sheriff Bradshaw acknowledged that the level of security on Sunday would have been higher if Mr. Trump were the sitting president. Biden said that he likes chocolate chip ice cream when awoken from a nap at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay. Biden said, "I'm relieved that the former president is unharmed. There's an active investigation into this incident as law enforcement gathers more details about what happened. As I have said many times, there's no place for political violence or for any violence ever in our country. And I've directed my team to continue to ensure blah, blah, blah." Obviously, Biden did not write this. It was his team that did it. So no reason to read anymore. Mr. Trump later talked to friends and allies throughout the afternoon. According to 2 people briefed on the scene, he cracked jokes about how frustrated he was. Excuse me. Could not finish his golf game. I'm talking too much here. I'm pulling a Biden. All right, back to the news.
Simpson in Washington. We'll have much more on the suspected assassination attempt tonight. In about 15 minutes, we'll speak to a retired FBI agent about what the urgency is in finding a motive and a sign the suspect may be willing to talk. Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, defended his repetition of false rumors that Haitian immigrants in Ohio are stealing and eating pets.
If I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
The stories Vance is referring to gained attention after Tuesday's presidential debate.
Eating there.
Since then, Springfield City Hall, some hospitals, and schools have received bomb threats that included hateful language towards the city's Haitian community.
It creates a lot of fear.
My wife was so pissed off about that. Animal cruelty. Not rumors. There are police reports, recorded calls, body cam footage.
Hearing terrible things about what's going on in
Springfield. That's something Ohio's Republican governor strongly denies.
I can say this, we will do large deportations.
Still, despite being there legally, if elected, Trump has vowed to deport them. Here in Canada, the fall parliamentary session is about to begin, and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre again called on other opposition parties to
trigger an election. We need to see Sky
election.
News, but they're on a completely different time zone.
The NDP and Liberals are already about to face their own tests at the ballot box.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is fired up.
Your priority, sir, election?
Priority, axe the tax.
Axe the tax.
Rallying his caucus before Parliament's return.
Sellout Jagmeet Singh wants you to believe he's a changed man.
And dialing up the pressure on the NDP to try to bring down the government this fall.
Canadians cannot wait. They need to vote now for...
Okay, that's enough of Canadian stuff. All right, we're going to read one more update from Fox News. They'll probably end stream. Not a lot of new information has been coming out lately. It seems like suspect is in custody and there's going to be an ongoing investigation. Biden, a lovely picture by Fox News. Good job, guys. President Biden condemned political violence and then followed a very generic, I think ChatGPT probably wrote this out for him if it wasn't his social media team, because it's nap time for Joe. Let's be honest here. DeSantis will launch its own investigation into the second Trump assassination attempt. I like that. It's hard to trust the FBI and CIA when, you know, they're investigating themselves and they've given themselves a gold star. The alleged would-be assassin has been identified as Ryan Wesley Routh. He was armed with an assault rifle, an AK-47 specifically, outside Trump International Golf Club while Trump was playing the fifth hole on Sunday afternoon. Secret Service fired on Routh, who was able to get away but was later spotted and stopped by authorities and arrested. He was found with 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera. The rifle was recovered from the bushes outside the golf course. This is the second attempt made on Trump's life in 2 months, hoping this won't become a monthly occurrence at this rate. Ryan Wesley Routh, he's 58, not 60. 58-year-old man accused of pointing an AK-47 at former President Donald Trump. Pointing it at him. Okay, well, you know, call it what it will, but I guess he did point the gun at him. I would call it an attempted assassination if I were prosecuting. Secret Service agents fired at him after seeing the muzzle of his AK-47 pointing through a chain link fence 1 hole ahead of where Trump was playing. You know, sticking your gun through a chain link fence was probably your first mistake. A background check on Ryan Wesley Routh revealed that he currently lives in Hawaii and has faced dozens of run-ins with police stretching back to at least the 1990s. So this guy has been a bad player since the early 90s. Once a douchebag, always a douchebag. Florida authorities late Sunday were inspecting a shrubbery where a suspected gunman hid during a second assassination attempt on former President Trump as he played a round of golf earlier in the day. Trump has said he will never surrender following second assassination attempt. Suspect was at least 300 yards away. The AK-47 had a scope on it, so, you know, quick work if you're any kind of decent shot. The picture we did see of him, he was wearing body armor. It looked like he had a bulletproof vest, so it looks like he did have some firearms experience. He's also been to Ukraine to recruit Afghan soldiers. This guy is a real freedom fighter. Let's see. All right, latest update here is about 4 hours ago. Let's see. Yeah, nothing real new. I think I'll probably end the stream here. If you want another update, possibly tomorrow or when we get another press conference, go ahead and leave a comment in the chat or comment on this video as it becomes live on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Conservative Vibes. I am CV, and I will see you guys next time. Have a happy Sunday, and hopefully we can see each other again with some better news and not an attempt on Trump's life.